Alright guys, I am back yet again with another deck profile from Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we're doing version 1 of my Dark States Kheios deck. So version 1 is of course everything up through the first additional card pass, so through the booster set 7, and actually through the Chronojet Stride deck set in this deck's case, since we are running one copy of a single card from that deck as well. But this deck is another one of the glitter decks from the Craycross Epic web novel series. And this deck focuses on getting 13 cards with different card names into your soul in order to power up your units and just go full beatdown on your opponent. So since we are focused on getting as many different names as possible into our soul, most of the cards in the deck are being ran at 1 of. But anyway, we are going to be going through the deck as always, and then we'll show it in one card fight so you can see it in action. So starting off first with our ride deck, we have our grade 0 starter, which is one with Profound Mercy Kheios. So when it's rode upon, if you win second, draw a card. Standard D-Series starter skill. Next up for our grade 1. We have In the Calm Streets Kheios. So his auto ability, when this unit is rode upon by Quagmire of Solace Kheios, reveal the top 2 cards of your deck, put all normal units from among them into your soul, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. And then additionally, of course, he has his glitter ability, which doesn't do anything in and of itself other than make this card a glitter, which is important for some of our other cards' abilities. But anyway, as for his first auto ability, this skill is very much luck based. It is potentially a free +2 to your soul if you reveal 2 normal units. However, if you reveal 2 triggers or order cards, they just go to the bottom of your deck, and this skill basically does nothing. So your mileage may vary as far as how much you can get out of this skill. It just depends on what you have in the top deck at the time. So very much a luck-based skill, but it can be useful if you end up top decking the right cards. So next for our grade 2, we have Quagmire of Solace Kheios. So his auto ability, when this unit is rode upon by Approaching Fangs Kheios, you soul charge 1, and if the soul charged card was a trigger unit, you draw a card, and if it was a normal unit, choose up to 1 card from your soul and call it to rearguard circle. And then of course this card is a glitter. So again, this skill is sort of luck based. It's actually better in my experience if you soul charge a trigger unit, because that way you get +1 to your soul and +1 to your hand. If you end up soul charging a normal unit, then your soul count doesn't increase, but you get a semi-controlled +1 to your field. So you're getting a +1 in either situation, but generally soul charging a trigger with this card is better. And then of course if you soul charge an order card off of this, then nothing happens other than you gain 1 to your soul. So again, your mileage may vary as far as this skill goes. And then of course we have our grade 3, which is Approaching Fangs Kheios. So first off, he has an activate ability that says once per turn, you can counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. To look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose 1 card from among them, put it into your hand, choose up to 1 unit card from among them, call it to rearguard circle, and put the rest into your soul. So this ability lets you take the top 3 of your deck and put 1 to hand, 1 to field, and 1 to soul. So it can be very helpful in getting cards that you need where you need them. It does work out to just be a counterblast 1 for a +1, since you do have to discard in order to play it. You get the discard back by putting the card in your hand, and then you get the +1 to your field. So works out decently as far as resources go. But then additionally, he has his main ability, which is his auto ability, that says when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, choose 1 of your rear guards and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. And if your soul has 13 or more cards with different card names, you choose all of your rear guards instead. So this ability can potentially power up your entire field, assuming you have the 13 different names in your soul. So it can make for a very devastating offense, powering up all your attacks by an extreme amount. Now, as far as getting the 13 into your soul, it is possible to do it on turn 3, although it requires quite a bit of luck. So in most cases it's probably going to be turn 4 by the time you'll be able to do that. You should pretty easily get the 8 into your soul on turn 3, so you can at least power up 1 unit on that turn. But most of the time, as far as the full field power-up goes, that is going to be a turn 4 play in most instances. Which means you can combo it with your Persona Ride as well and power up your field even more. So it does require a little bit of setup, but it can lead to a very devastating turn for your opponent, where you can just beat their face in with your completely overpowered rearguard units. And then of course he also has the glitter ability that makes him a glitter as well. So that is our ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the grade 3s, of course we have our 3 additional copies of Approaching Fangs Kheios for our Persona Ride purposes. And we are running the SP just because it looks cool. So next up we have 4 copies of our rearguard glitter, which is Cool-Headed Executor Mikani, which is of course our dual nation card, being both Brantgate and Dark States. But he has his first ability, which is auto ability, that says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, to choose one of your opponent's rearguards with the same grade as the card Soul Blast for this cost, and retire it. So this ability is a little bit situational for me. I don't end up using it a whole lot, mainly because it ends up costing me a card for my soul, and that can make it harder to get the 13 you need for Kheios' power-up ability. However, if you do have multiple copies of one of the few cards we're running multiples of in this deck in your soul, then you can Soul Blast out one of those and not hurt your soul count, and potentially pick off one of your opponent's rearguards. Now, most of those cards will be grade 3, so they might have to have a grade 3 rearguard you want to pick off for that. But you do have that option to not be able to reduce your name count in your soul. Or if you just have excess soul, then you can always just Soul Blast out one and pick off whatever you want. But it's kind of situational depending on your soul situation at the moment. So I actually don't end up using it real often, but it's nice to have there occasionally. But additionally, he has his glitter ability, which is his main ability. So it is active if your Vanguard is a glitter with Kheios in its card name, which of course will always be the case with this deck. So another auto ability once per turn, when your Vanguard attacks, if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, stay in this unit, and if you stay in this unit, put this unit into your soul at the end of turn. So as long as you get the 8 different names into your soul, this card can restand itself for free, giving you a 4th attack, potentially a 5th as well, if you can end up with 2 copies of this card in your front row. So, very important piece of your offense, giving you multi-attacks, which will be even better when you power them up with Kheios' skill to be able to hit some pretty big numbers with them. Now, you do have to put him into your soul after you use this ability, so you'll have to either call another copy of him from your hand next turn, or find a way to cycle him out of your soul back onto your field, which we do have multiple ways to do that in this deck. But he will require some setup to be able to use him again next turn. But still, this is one of the most important cards in the deck in terms of our offense. So that is actually all of our grade 3s, so moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 1 copy of Amazing Frost. So his auto ability, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, Soul Blast 1, draw a card, choose a card from your hand, put it into your soul. Then if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. And if your soul has 10 or more cards with different card names, this unit gets power plus 10,000 instead. So this ability can be useful in fixing your soul, especially again if you do end up with duplicates in your soul. You can Soul Blast one of them out and replace it with something else that has a different name from your hand. It doesn't end up plussing you in any way since you're drawing a card, but then you're putting one into your soul. and you had to soul blast out to play it, so it doesn't help your hand count, it doesn't help your soul count. I guess it is technically free power gain, but yeah, it's mainly just there to fix any duplicates in your soul. So next up we have one copy of Hypno Grasper. So his continuous ability, that's active when he's on back row rearguard circle, says during your turn, if your soul has 6 or more cards, this unit gets boosts, and if your soul has 12 or more cards, it gets power plus 10,000. So with 12 or more cards in your soul, this card can essentially be a 20k booster, which is pretty insane. Now this ability is only active on the back row, so if you call him the front row rearguard circle, he is just vanilla. So you do want to pop him in the back if you do end up using him. But being able to hit those really big numbers is very good. And again, he can go even higher with Kheios' skill. So he can contribute to those big ridiculous columns that we can build with this deck. So next we have one copy of Selfish Engraver. So her first auto ability, when this unit's attack hits, you soul charge 1. So just a good skill to increase your soul count. And then she has her second auto ability that says at the end of the battle this unit attacked. If your soul has 10 or more cards, you can put this unit into your soul and countercharge 1. So we have quite a few counterblast skills in this deck actually. So the countercharge can come in handy if you do manage to see this card. Of course we are only running the one of it. But if you get it, that resource recovery can be helpful. And in getting that resource recovery, you also put another name into your soul. So that can be helpful as well. So next we have one copy of Steam Mage Ashur Da. So his continuous ability when he's on Guardian Circle. If your soul has 7 or more cards, this unit gets shield plus 5,000. And then he has his auto ability that says when this unit is retired from Guardian Circle, you may put this card into your soul. So he's just a 10k shield, and when you guard with him, you get another name into your soul. So again, very helpful in getting to that 13. So next we have one copy of Snake Charm Poisoner. So her auto ability, when this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, if your soul has 7 or more cards, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So this is just a good pressure card. Again, your columns can hit some pretty insane numbers in this deck, and she's got a on-hit skill. So you can force your opponent to either guard a really big attack or lose an additional card when her attack hits. So pretty useful. Next we have one copy of Metalize Erosio. So his continuous ability, if your soul has 7 or more cards, all of your opponent's rear guards in the same column as this unit lose intercept and boost and cannot get them. So this card is just a 9k base. However, shutting down your opponent's intercepts and boosts for one of their columns can be pretty annoying depending on what deck you're going against. If they got something with big intercepts like Obscadede, or if they got a big booster sitting in their back row like a Trick Moon or potentially a Brainwash Swirler or something, you can shut those down immediately. If they got something with a skill that activates when it boosts, you can shut that down as well. So yeah, this is just kind of a annoying card that you can use against certain decks. And then we have one copy of Steam Artist Napier. So her continuous ability when she's on Guardian Circle, if your soul has 5 or more cards, this unit gets shield plus 5,000. So she's just a 10k shield, really easy condition to meet in this deck with all the soul charging. So yeah, pretty simple, but extra shield value is helpful. So that is all of our grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have one copy of Steam Maiden Barney. So her auto ability when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from hand, if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, you counterblast 1, choose a grade 1 or less card from your soul and call it to rearguard circle. And if your soul has 10 or more cards with different card names, you choose a grade 4 or less card instead of a grade 1 or less card. So she can let you call anything you need out of your soul, assuming you have at least 10 cards in there to begin with. She's mainly there to recycle your Mikanis out of your soul after you put them in off of their second ability. However, she can grab anything you need, so if you already have another Mikani ready to go, then she can grab something else to fill in your field as well. Since filling up your entire field is very important in this deck, since you will be powering up all your rear guards, you want to have the maximum 5 rear guards out to take full advantage of that. So this card can help contribute to that. One thing to note is that she doesn't replace the card that she calls from your soul, so you do want to be careful and not accidentally, put yourself under 13 and end up screwing yourself out of the power gain. So be mindful of that, but other than that, this card can be very helpful. Next up, we got one copy of Evil Eye of Prohibition Quinn Lu. So she has an activate ability that lets you put this unit into your soul, and then you choose one of your rear guards and it gets power plus 2000 until end of turn. Then if your soul has 7 or more cards, your opponent cannot call grade 1 or greater cards from their hand to Guardian Circle for the battle that rear guard attacks this turn. So this card combos extremely well with Mikani. Since this is activate ability, use it during the main phase, and Mikani can restand himself during the battle phase. So that means both of his attacks will have the guard restrict that this card grants it. And again, those numbers can reach ridiculous levels with all the power-up skills in this deck. So having 2 big beefy attacks swinging with a guard restrict that blocks sentinels, as well as anything else grade 1 or greater, can be very dangerous. This card can very easily win you games, even if they have a big hand, if they don't have the right stuff to block those 2 attacks. So I have actually considered running multiples of this card, even though it would reduce the consistency of the deck slightly. But it's so good that it might actually be worth it. But I am just keeping it at the 1 of for right now. So next we have one copy of Brainwash Swirler. So his auto ability, when this unit's placed on rearguard circle, soul charge 1. Then his second auto ability, when your card is put into your soul by soul charge, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets power plus 5000 until end of turn. So again, free +1 to your soul when you call him, and he gains power every time you soul charge. So we have quite a bit of soul charge abilities in this deck, so he can reach some pretty high numbers on his own. And again, with all the power-ups from Kheios and everyone else, it can be a big booster, a big attacker, whatever you need him to be. And the soul charge, of course, helps you get closer to the 13 you need in your soul. So overall, very useful card. Next, we have one copy of Avid Heaper. So his auto ability, when this unit boosts a grade 2 or greater, you may soul charge 1. So again, another soul charge skill. Best thing about this card is that it's repeatable, so it activates on boost, so you can use it every turn to continuously refill your soul as needed. So simple skill, but very effective. Next up, we have one of the few cards that we have multiples of in the deck. We're running 2 copies of Flaming Pony. So its activate skill is active when it's in your soul, and it lets you bind this card and soul charge 2. So we are running multiples of this since you don't have to worry about getting your soul clogged with multiple copies of it, since if you have one in your soul, you can just bind it out and then replace it with 2 more cards. So you never had to worry about, not reaching the 13 because there's multiple ponies in your soul. You can always just have it remove itself and replace it with more. So it can very easily contribute to hitting that 13 that you need. If you draw into this as well, this is also a good card to put into your soul off of Amazing Frost's ability, since that'll set up its skill to go off as well. Next, we have one copy of Direful Doll Amandine. So her continuous ability says during your turn, if your soul has 10 or more cards, this unit gets power plus 10,000. So again, she can be an 18k booster, an 18k attacker, She can fill in any slot on your field you need her to fill in. So just very useful in filling up your field. And then she also has an activate ability that says once per turn you can counterblast 1. And until end of turn, when you would soul charge by your card's ability, increase that number by 1. So like I said, there are many soul charge abilities in this deck. And this ability increases the count of each one of those soul charges by 1. So it makes your Brainwash Swirler soul charge 2, it makes your Avid Heaper soul charge 2, it makes your Flaming Pony soul charge 3, actually. So, again, that can be very helpful in filling up your soul fast, especially if you have multiple of those skills set up and ready to go on that turn. Next, we have one copy of Steam Gunner Remouche. So her continuous ability, during the battle, this unit boosted. If your soul has 5 or more cards, this unit gets power plus 2000 and your opponent cannot intercept. So slight power up and slight guard restrict. Pretty simple card, she's basically just a 10k booster. You can put her behind a Mikani and combo it with Quinn Lu's ability to increase that guard restrict even further. But yeah, pretty basic skill, but can be pretty useful as well. Also very cute artwork. So next we have our Sentinel units, which we are running 4 different Sentinels. So 3 standard perfect guards, all with different names, and then our Blitz order. So first we have our 1 copy of Recusal Hate Dragon, which is of course just your standard perfect guard. Then additionally we have 1 copy of Repelled Malice Dragon, again standard perfect guard. And then 1 copy of Steam Maiden Arlium, which is the encounter perfect guard that was in the Chronojet Stride deck set. And then of course our last Sentinel is the 1 copy of Elementaria Sanctitude, the Nationless Blitz order that you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So then lastly for our grade 1s, we just have our normal order, which we are running 4 copies of. One who governs Chaos. So you can play this with a Counterblast 1 if your Vanguard has Kheios in its card name. And it lets you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to the same number of cards from among them as the number of cards in your soul, with Kheios and their different card names. Put them into your soul, and shuffle your deck. Then if your soul has 8 or more different cards, choose up to 1 card from your soul, call it to rearguard circle. Choose one of your rearguards with Mikani in its card name, and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. So we are maxing this out at 4 because it is just a extremely good card in this deck. If you play it on turn 3, you should have a minimum of 3 Kheios with different names in your soul. So this will give you 3 more cards to add to your soul from among the top 5. It lets you call one out of your soul onto your field, so that would be a +2 to your soul and a +1 to your field. It can help you get your Mikanis back out onto the field and power them up if you don't have one. If you already have a Mikani out on the field, then you can power it up and call something else from your soul if you need to fill in a rearguard circle slot. All around, this is just a fantastic card that really helps with the consistency of the deck. So it's definitely worth running the multiples of. So that is all of our grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we do just have our trigger lineup, which I am running rainbow triggers in this deck, mostly just to keep each trigger at 1 copy to make the deck as consistent as possible. But we are running 4 crit, 3 front, 4 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 1 copy of Connected Rampage Clean. So just your vanilla crit. Additionally, we have 1 copy of Diabolos Girls Mai Mai. 1 copy of Lively Breath Dragon. And then 1 copy of the effect crits, Stem Deviate Dragon. So at the end of the battle it boosted, you can put it into your soul and give someone +2k. So again, if you're really desperate for that 1 extra soul card, this is a way to get another name in there. So then for the fronts, we have one copy of the effect front, Diabolos Girls Natalia. So it gains 5k shield if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater. So 20k shield, definitely important to have since we can only have the one of it. And then additionally, we are running 2 more vanilla front triggers. So we have one copy of Huckle Hustle and one copy of Wire Pole Subjugator. So next for the draws, we have one copy of the effect draw, Rouse Wildmaster Riley. So again, same skill as Natalia, gains an extra 5k shield if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater. So 10k shield, draw trigger. And then of course we have our 3 additional vanilla draw triggers. So we have one copy of Insane Researcher, one copy of Vital Lever, and one copy of Advanced Clock Dragon. So then for our heals, I am just running all vanilla heals as usual. Of course, if you want to run the effect ones, you can. But I'm running one copy of Diabolos Girls Ariana, one copy of Steam Scara Mal Nigal, one copy of Direful Doll Alexandra, and one copy of Caper Companion. And then of course lastly we have our one over trigger, which is of course Hades Dragon Deity of Resentment, Galmageheld. So his additional effect you get during your turn, all of your Vanguards get power plus 10,000, critical plus 1 until end of this fight. So grants the ability to the fighter, that is basically a permanent crit trigger on your Vanguard. So very useful, especially when you check it early on in the game. So that is the deck. So we will go ahead and have our one fight with it. And let's see, we'll fight Kuro. And we will be going first.
Stand up, Vanguard. Stand and draw.
Alright, so let's drop Napier to ride. And then we can just end our turn. And we'll let that through. There goes one of our Mekanis. Alright, so let's drop... We'll drop Snake Charm Poisoner to ride. Use our grade 1 skill. And we got one trigger unit and one normal unit, so one of those will go to our soul. And then the trigger goes to the bottom. So we'll go ahead and call Selfish Engraver. And then we can attack with our Vanguard first. Oh, we pull our over trigger. Alright. So we'll give that power to Engraver. And then our Vanguard will gain a crit. So that'll be 2 damage. And then we can attack with Engraver. And yeah, he's gotta let that through. So that's a hit, so we'll get the soul charge as well. Alright. So we'll have that 10k power and that extra crit for the rest of the game now, thanks to that over trigger. And let's see, we'll block that one actually. And it gets a crit trigger. And I hate to take that because it's 2 crit, but I think I'm going to let that through. And we get a crit that's wasted. Then we get a draw trigger. Alright. Alrighty, let's drop. And we'll drop Frost to ride Approaching Fangs Kheios. And use our grade 2's ability to soul charge. And we soul charge the trigger, so we got the draw. And we'll go ahead and call Avid Heaper. And then, let's see, we will... we'll call Amandine as well. And we will put her over here. And then we'll use Kheios' ability to counterblast. And we'll have to discard one of those Persona rides, actually. But we see the top 3, and we can put 1 into our hand. So we'll put Mikani in our hand, and then we'll call Remouche over there. So we'll go ahead and just call Mikani from our hand. And we're not going to use his retire skill right now. And I think that's actually all we'll do for now. So we'll go ahead and attack with Mikani first. Not boosted. And he intercepts. So then we can attack with Kheios. And we'll use Heaper's ability to soul charge, which will give us 8. So that means we'll trigger Mikani's ability to restand. And Kheios' ability to give 10k to somebody. So we will give that to Mikani. And he perfect guards. Alright, so then we can attack with Selfish Engraver. And her attack hit, so we can soul charge again. He gets a crit trigger. So we'll get the soul charge off of her. Soul charge Flaming Pony. So then we can attack with Mikani. Alright, so now Mikani has to go into her soul thanks to his ability.
キル発動コールヴァンガードにアタック
Alright, so we just need 5 to block that, so I think we will intercept.
インターセプトヴァンガードにアタック
And then we'll let that one through.
ドライブチェックオーバートリガー
Oh, and he pulls his over trigger.
パワープラス
Alright.
スキル発動パワープラス
So that's going to give him an extra drive check on that rear guard's attack.
パワープラスドライブチェッククリティカル
Oh,
ト
and he
リガ
gets a
ー
crit on top of it.
クリティカルプラス
So that means this one's going to put us to 5.
スキル発動
It's a good thing I got a perfect guard in my hand.
スキル発動パワープラスやってやるぞそして勝つダメージチェックヒールトリガー
And we get a heal trigger, which we don't get.
パワープラス
And that power gain isn't going to make a difference, so it's kind of wasted.
クリティカルトリガー
And that crit's wasted too, really.
クリティカルプラスパワープラスヴァンガードにアタック
Alright, so we will have to perfect guard that. 100,068,000. Alright, we'll drop one of these orders.
完全カードドライブチェックだフロントトリガーだ
And it gets a front trigger that is wasted too.
スキル発動パワープラスターンエンド僕のターンドロー
Alright, so now we can Persona Ride.
ペルソナライト
And we can go ahead and use Kheios' ability again to counterblast and discard 1. We'll drop that order actually.
スキル発動
Alright, so we can add that order right back to our hand. And then Superior Call, Mikani.
スペリオルコード
And let's see, what's in our soul? We got 2 Kheios, grade 3s. So yeah, actually I think we will go ahead and use his ability. So we'll Counterblast and Soul Blast out one of these duplicate Kheioses.
スキル発動
And then we can pick off his grade 3 rear guard. So now, let's see, we've got 11 cards in our soul, so a Mandine gained 10k. And we'll go ahead and play our one who governs chaos order. So we counterblast again.
オーダー発動
And now we can put up to 4 of these into our soul. So let's see, we'll put Mikani. And that's actually all I'm gonna put, because I don't want any of these other ones in my soul right now. Plus I don't want to deck out, I only got 14 cards left, 13 now. But we can Superior Call from our soul, so we'll call out one of these Mikanis.
スペリオルコード
And we can give 10k power to someone, so we'll give that to our left Mikani. And we're not going to use his ability. And we're still a few shy of having 13, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a Mandine's ability to counterblast.
発動
And now all of our soul charge skills will soul charge 1 additional time. So we'll go to our soul and use Flaming Pony's ability,
スキル発動
which will let us bind him and then soul charge 3. Nice. So we have just enough to get us to 13. So we are set up and good to go. So we will attack with our left Mikani, not boosted. Any perfect guards. So then we'll attack with our right Mikani, again not boosted. Any guards again. So then we can attack with Kheios. And Mikani's skill will stand both of them back up. And I'm not going to use Heaper to soul charge since we're good on soul for right now. So we'll use Kheios' skill to power up all of our rear guards by 10k. Any perfect guards again. But we should still have him. He's only got one card in his hand. And we just pulled a crit trigger. So we will give the crit to our left Mikani and the power to our right one. Alright, so now we can attack with our left Mikani for a whopping 71,002 crit. And he's got to let it through, so we should get him here. Oh, and he gets a miracle heal. But he needs another one, because that was 2 crit. And he gets a front, which does not help him, so we got him with that one. Alright, so there you go. That was our Kheios deck. Very, very fun deck. So I will be back soon with more deck profiles. I believe next up I am going to be doing an encounter deck with Majesty Lord Blaster. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.